Perfect. Hi.
My name is Patricia.
Nice
You
to
can call
meet
me
you.
Patty, though.
Chris.
Nice to meet you. I can edit this, right?
You don't need to, though.
Okay. So I'm just here to ask you some questions about
Okay.
your views on your role in social work and things that have inspired you to get into the field.
Okay.
And if you feel uncomfortable at any point, just let me know,
Perfect.
and I will stop the recording.
Awesome. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. So to start, what do you think your strengths have been that have led you into social work?
I think I've always been a very compassionate and passionate person, and have always just wanted to help others that have in need.
Okay. And this has always been a thing?
Yeah, I think for as long as I can remember, I think my parents did a good job of really instilling values in my siblings and I, especially with regards to helping people that were less fortunate. So for as long as I can remember, I've always been very like mindful of people that were more down on their luck than I was growing up, and always felt like I wanted to be able to help in some way.
Okay. Are you the oldest or
No, I'm middle.
Middle?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Birth order is interesting
It is.
to look at.
Yeah.
Normally it's like the oldest one that's like protective of the youngest, or the babies that are.
Yeah, so my sister, who was 2 years older than me, was very protective of my younger brother, who was 6 years younger than me, and I was always very mean to him growing up because he had a lot of health issues, and I was used to being the baby until he came around, and then all of the attention was diverted to him. So I was very resentful of my brother growing up, and so I would often kind of pick on him. But my sister, the older in the family of the siblings, would definitely come to his defense pretty regularly. So she did fill that role.
Yeah. Okay. What was your reasoning behind actually getting into social work? Was that something you originally wanted to do when you went to school?
No, so I originally wanted to get into law.
Okay.
So one of my heroes growing up was Atticus Finch from
Okay.
To Kill a Mockingbird. And so I was taking courses in criminal justice after I graduated from high school at our local community college, and was just working retail in a video store. And a woman had come into the store one day, and she introduced herself, and she was a social worker with the Division of Developmental Disabilities in Southern Oregon, where I grew up. And she had created a job program where she had clients with various developmental diagnoses, and she was going out in the community, and she would help them to apply for jobs, and she would help them with resume writing and things of that nature. And she came into our store one day and asked if we would ever consider hiring one of her clients. And I said, well, yeah, absolutely we will. I wasn't even like the manager of the store.
Executive decision making.
Exactly. I said, this is awesome, and I didn't even know that this was like a job, that somebody could do something like this. So I was really impressed and wanted to be a part of it, so I started volunteering with her. I did help get one of her clients a job in our store, and it worked out phenomenally well. So that was my first, I guess, like segue into social work, was just volunteering with her program and helping kids learn how to write resumes, and we practiced interview skills, and we would go out in the community and find jobs that matched kind of their skill set. So
That's really cool.
yeah, it was just by chance. So
and then you steered off from law, and then you.
Yeah, and then I decided I can't stay in Southern Oregon anymore because it was too small, and I was tired of it. And so I moved to Arizona, and immediately got into the program at ASU for social work. And
that's really nice.
Yeah.
Are you from Oregon?
Yes.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I've been once.
What part?
To Portland.
Mm.
You know, a general vacation kind of
You're
thing.
from the nice area.
Yeah, no, I'm not from
Or no,
Portland.
you visited
I've
the nice
yeah,
area.
yeah. I've only gone once. It was yeah.
Portland's beautiful.
Yeah, it was really nice.
Yeah.
Definitely. If I could, I would live there.
Yeah, me too.
Because
Yeah.
I love Pacific Northwest area. I did my first year of college there,
Nice.
and I just loved everything
Yeah.
about up there.
I didn't appreciate it when I lived there. It wasn't until probably a few years ago that
Yeah.
I realized
What a great place it was to grow up
Mhm.
and to have a childhood where you can just run around in nature and
Right.
climb trees and not have to worry about being hit by, a car. And
Right.
So, yeah, I really appreciate it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, vacation, or you.
Yeah, I went home for the first time in 11 years last summer.
11 years?
It was the first
That's a
time in
long
11
time.
years. I know. Yeah.
Well, that's good.
The time before that I went home, I went around the holidays, and my parents live in a very small town in Southern Oregon in the
Mhm.
valley, the Rogue Valley, and the fog just sets in the wintertime.
Mhm.
And if it's too foggy, you can't get out of there because the planes won't fly in it. So I happened to have a flight that was supposed to leave, and we got fogged in, and I told them I'll never go back because I didn't want to get stuck there.
The fog is that just
It gets so
dense?
thick.
It's
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. So, but fortunately, my parents have just traveled out here. My mom lived out here for 5 years, taking care of her parents in Scottsdale.
Okay.
So I didn't really have to travel home because they were always out here.
Okay.
So,
There was
yeah.
ties here, no
Yeah.
matter what.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
that's nice.
Mhm.
I can imagine the fog would be terrifying, though. Like, if you weren't knowing what to expect,
Yeah,
really.
it was more, I just didn't want to get stuck in a small town again. Like, I'm the only one in the family to have moved away and
Okay.
not returned home, and I did not want to get trapped there. I wanted to get back. So.
That's interesting. I've never,
Yeah.
other than that small amount of
Yeah.
time in Montana, I've never been anywhere small. I'm
Yeah.
originally from Long Beach,
Oh, okay,
California,
yeah.
so it's been busy. And then
Yeah.
when I moved out here is when everyone else started, like,
Yeah.
flooding over here. So
Oh, yeah.
I've always been in big cities. What concerns do you have about the course that you were teaching? And I guess watching the students' interviews and whatnot.
I think my only concern about teaching, and it's kind of the same concern that I have every semester, is just I feel sometimes like there's a lot of pressure to make sure that I'm teaching to everybody and that everybody is getting the information, because I know everybody learns differently and I want to make sure that I'm reaching everybody. So that's my big concern. And I'm not a teacher by trade, so I'm still not very confident. So I think that those are just the concerns, just making sure that I'm teaching to everybody and that everybody feels that they're benefiting from the information,
Mhm.
and that it's information that's going to be applicable to future social work. And then just making sure that, yeah, I guess that I'm doing a good job.
Okay. Am I allowed to give you feedback?
Please,
Okay.
yes,
I think
absolutely.
you're doing great at making us all feel comfortable in the
Thank you.
classroom.
Thank you.
And just the fact that you allow us
Yeah.
to have open conversations and ask you
Mhm.
very blunt questions, and then
Good.
you take your time to think about the
Yeah.
answer. It's definitely helpful in knowing what kind of social
Yeah.
worker we might be in the
I
future.
appreciate it. Thank you. I'm always looking for feedback, even if it's
Negative.
negative, because I feel like we have to continue to grow, and if I don't challenge myself and if I don't grow, then what's my purpose, I guess?
Right.
You know?
I feel like
Yeah.
our class is pretty outspoken too.
Yes.
So I think that if you have any, or
Yeah.
if we have anything bad to say, I think we
I
would
hope
be
so.
pretty open with
Yeah.
letting you know.
I've been surprised by some of the questions already,
You're
so
like,
it's a
oh,
good
you're
thing.
that comfortable.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, our generation is starting to get
Yeah.
a little, we want answers.
That's good. I'm glad, yeah.
What do you enjoy doing in your spare time when you are not doing social work related things?
So I love being able just to spend time with my wife and go on dates, and I love spending time with my kids. I have 2 kids, and they're twins, but they're totally different.
Yeah.
So one is very into like video games and things like that. My other son is very into art and music. So I try to make sure, and my wife and I, we're pretty good about making sure that we're having quality time with each of them
Mhm.
that also involves their own special interests. So like with one of my sons, we go to a lot of concerts and we go to a lot of art exhibits, and with my other son, sometimes we'll just hang out in a coffee shop and play video games
Mhm.
or something like that, because that's where his
Mhm.
interest lies.
That's so fun.
Yeah. So, and then we try to, have as much family time as we possibly can. And
Mhm.
I love to travel, so, am very passionate about that, so I always feel like I have some kind of trip that I'm planning in my head.
Yeah,
So,
I know that.
Something to look forward to.
so I have to have some kind of trip that I'm expecting or excited about.
Do you travel with your family, or is it just your time to get away?
No, so it's kind of my time to get away.
Yeah.
So, we do take some family trips just locally and stuff like that. One of my kids hates to travel outside of the area.
Oh, really?
So when it comes to bigger trips, we often will take my son that likes to travel,
Mm.
and the other one will stay with my other son. So like last year, or a few years ago, my wife went with just some friends to Paris for a couple of weeks, and then the following year I went with my brother, cousin, and a friend to Peru for 2 weeks, and then last year she went to Italy with my son, and so this coming April I'm taking him to Paris and Norway.
Oh, wow.
So we try to travel as much as we can.
Right,
So,
that's so fun
yeah.
though. I think it's so good for kids to experience the
Yeah.
world outside of what is happening
Oh, yeah.
here.
I never traveled actually outside of the country until after my wife and I got married. She traveled all around the world, and so she kind of that was my downfall. We went to Greece, and then I was hooked.
Yeah,
And yeah, no, I feel like I always have to be planning something.
it always just takes
Yeah.
one trip.
I know.
I know how it goes.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to travel. I've always had just maps of the
Yeah.
world, and I've always pinpointed where I
Oh,
want to go. But I just never got around to get my
Yeah.
passport. And then when I got that chance to go to Peru,
Yeah.
I just have this travel bug now. I
See?
just need to go.
Mhm.
So I'm planning a trip to Japan
Awesome.
next year in July.
Yeah.
They're having the Olympics there.
Uh-huh.
They're having a man-made meteor shower as the
Oh,
opening
wow.
event. And so my
Oh, that's
boyfriend and
amazing.
I are ready. We've been saving up and
That's so cool.
yeah. So
Awesome.
once the travel bug hits,
You can't get rid of it.
you really can't.
No.
And there's just so much world to see.
I know.
It's always so nice to see.
Yeah.
I enjoy culture shock.
Yeah.
So
I do too.
yeah,
I think it's important for us to be challenged and step out of our comfort zones. And
right.
see how other people live.
Yes. And I do not speak Spanish very
Yeah.
well. I should. I'm Mexican. But like my family growing up,
Yeah.
they did not teach it to me.
Mhm.
And so going to Peru was
Yeah.
a completely different Spanish than I grew up listening
Right.
to, because Mexican Spanish is so different,
Different.
compared to all of Southern America.
Oh, yeah.
And so learning that and trying to
Mhm.
keep up with the pace that they speak, it was an adventure.
Challenging.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
So as far as things that you like to do in your spare
Mhm.
time, how big of a role does that play in your life? Do you kind of value that more than, I don't know, your work? Do you enjoy this?
Yeah, I think I'm busy because I essentially have like 3 jobs here, teaching, and then full-time at Cancer Treatment Center, and then I do on-call work for a home health company. But I'm make sure that my family and my home life is a priority. So I'm always there for, to like have breakfast in the morning with the kids, and I go home for lunch so that I can be there when, we're all having lunch together. And typically I'm there every single night for dinner and bedtime routine. And on the weekends, even if I'm busy with, doing home visits or whatever, I always make sure that the bulk of my time is spent with them. I try not to let anything at work interfere with time that I have with the family. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a juggle and a challenge, but
Right. 3 different jobs?
Yeah.
Is that like a standard for social workers in order to survive and live like a fun life still?
so no, I don't think so.
The social work isn't the most lucrative
Right.
of professions.
So there is probably a need to have a second source of income.
Okay.
But, we do have expenses and things that we like to do. We don't live like a lavish lifestyle by any means, but our big expenses kind of like trips and things like that. So that's where a lot of that money goes. But then we also have a goal of having our house paid off within the next couple of years if we can. So that's another reason why
Okay.
I'm working extra, just so that I can get that paid off before I'm too old.
Right.
So, yeah.
That makes sense.
It'll help
Those
with
are good
long-term goals. Yeah.
Right. What is one fact about yourself that would be surprising?
So I'm the
first person on either side of the family to go to college. So that might be surprising, it might not be surprising, I don't know.
No, good job.
But that's, I think that's one thing. What else? I think that that's probably, I can't think of anything else.
Right. It's
Yeah.
hard to be put on the spot about interesting things about yourself.
I should have thought of these questions beforehand. Yeah, I think that that's really the only thing I can think of as far as a surprising fact about me.
Was that something that you feel like you were determined to do? Or was it kind of your family pushing you? Because I feel maybe
Yeah.
for you, I know for
Uh-huh.
me, I'm the first person,
Yeah.
as far as like my mom, my immediate family,
Yeah.
to go to college.
Mhm.
And I feel like, especially, I had gone and then I
Mhm.
stopped and then I went back. But the only reason I went back
Yeah.
was because some like life altering thing, and
Yeah.
then I was determined at that point. But my family was never like the biggest pusher
Yeah.
as far as getting back in.
Mhm.
Is that something?
My family was, so they were, I would say that they were supportive, but they didn't push at all because the whole concept of higher education is very foreign to them.
Okay.
So when I actually had come down here for vacation, my uncle was living here, and I came and spent a few weeks, and his girlfriend at the time was a student at ASU when it was just only in Tempe.
Mhm.
And so I spent the day with her and just fell in love with the campus and going to her classes. And I got back and I packed up what I could in the back of my truck and was like, I'm moving to Arizona. So I think my parents were kind of shocked.
Mhm.
They were supportive, but they didn't understand. Like, I think, my wife and I were having this conversation the other day because nobody in my family even knew what it was like to apply for college
Okay.
or apply for scholarships.
Mhm.
So I didn't have people that I could go to like bounce those ideas off
Mhm.
of. I just kind of did it on my own, and they were supportive, but they don't really understand, I guess.
Okay.
And it's really interesting because I've always been very close with everybody in my family. But after I came out here and started going to school, it was really hard to kind of connect,
Right.
especially with my mom. In fact, we were talking one day and she had even made a comment about how ever since I moved out here, she said I became very conceited.
Mm.
And I think it's just because I don't think that I have changed as a person. I just think that she has a hard time relating to my experiences as
Mhm.
a student and, you know, traveling in other countries and living in other countries and things like that. It's
Right.
hard for her to wrap her mind around because those are things that she has never experienced.
Right.
So
Right.
it's interesting.
Yeah.
They're proud, but I don't think that they fully like understand or feel that they know me anymore.
Right. That seems like it'd be difficult for your
Yeah.
side too, just because you still want to relate
Right.
to them, but
Yeah.
your world views have changed
Right.
so much.
They really have, yeah. So it's interesting. It's it's very strange. I'm still very close with them.
Mhm.
I think my dad is very supportive, and he's very he wants to be really involved, and
Mhm.
he's wanting to do things now that he sees me doing that he's never done. So he's never traveled outside of Oregon, California, or Arizona, and he's going to Norway with us.
Oh wow, that's fun.
So he's kind of stepping out of his comfort zone now and doing things that he never would have thought he could do. So that's neat to be able to see.
That is.
Yeah.
That's inspiring.
Yeah. He kind of, I think, as when I moved, when I was in the Peace Corps and moved overseas, I think he really was trying to live vicariously
Mhm.
through me, which is cool.
All of the
Yeah.
pictures,
Mhm.
they were just hanging all over. My
Yeah.
my mom does not understand my my want to go and travel everywhere.
Yeah.
She always loves to say that she can go to Las Vegas and see the world right
Yeah.
there, and I'm like, no, Mom, that's
Yeah.
totally not at all.
Not the same.
Yeah.
Not at all. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel that deeply,
Yeah.
but family is family.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, roles and relationships have definitely changed, but that we still are very, very close. So
That's
I still talk to them every weekend.
right.
So,
And your children are close with them and everything too.
Oh yeah, they're super close, like very, very close. Yeah.
We're at 20 minutes. Wow.
Time flies.
When you're having fun.
Right?
Well, we can end this then. Unless you have any questions at all.
No, I don't have any questions.
Perfect. Well then, thank you
Absolutely.
for letting me interview you.
Not a problem.